I'm Teresa Matic with Investing News. Here with me today is Dr. Paul West-Sells, President and COO of Western Copper and Gold. Paul, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So looking at the copper market, despite calls for a surplus this year, there's been more and more talk about a deficit. What are you seeing in the market?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly, if you look at this year, 2015, at the beginning of the year, there was a big call for a surplus, and as the year has gone on, there's a bit of a call for a deficit. But really, with our company, with Western Copper and Gold, we're looking at a mine that's going to come in online in 2020, 2021. So we're really looking at what does that market look like, and that market is very clearly in significant deficit. And there's been a number of articles about that, and at that time, there's a real consensus in terms of the fact that there's a supply deficit, and we're going to need significant copper production and copper mines like Casino.
Okay, and that said, copper of course hit a 6-year low last week. So what does that mean for the project?
Yeah, it's surprising because as copper has now moved into a bit of a deficit, and yet the price goes down to under $2.50 on the back of really news out of China. But we actually ran our financials at $2.50 copper and other spot commodity prices, and the Casino project is so robust, it still has an internal rate of return of 18% at those numbers. So we've got a project that really makes sense at any sort of realistic commodity price environment.
That's great. And I also saw last week you signed a cooperation agreement with the Trondek First Nation. Congratulations.
Right. Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, we've worked very hard with our First Nation partners, and we signed an agreement a couple years ago with the Selkirk First Nation, which is where the mine is located, with the Little Salmon, Carmex First Nation, where the road is located, and now with the Trondek First Nation, which we also are on their land. So we now have sort of the three key First Nations where that our project impacts signed so that we can work cooperatively with them and really develop a relationship going forward.
Good. And back to talking about Casino more specifically, some market watchers have said that they favor smaller, higher grade copper operations versus a bigger world-class project like Casino.
Right.
What would you say to that?
When I look at Casino, and it makes the most sense at the scale that it does. I mean, it's really been optimized in terms of engineering. And again, we're in this for the long game. And again, when we look at the copper supply that's needed to come online, it's significant. When we looked at what is going to be required by 2025, I think we realized there needed to be 100 mines the size of Casino to come online to supply that amount of copper. So if that's the size of mine that needs to come on to supply that supply deficit.
Wow, for sure, yeah. And for now, again, sorry to bring it back for now. I know it's not a fun time for miners, but it is tough out there. What are you doing to survive? What's the best way to survive for a junior?
It's tough out there. It's really tough to raise money. So one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is a really healthy balance sheet. We've started the year with about $15 million. We've reduced our budget this year to around $5 million. So we expect to end the year at around $10 million. So we're being very, very careful with our shareholders' money. And that's really because we don't want to go out to the market and raise money. So and we're able to advance our project through permitting, with the money that we have on hand.
Great. And finally, what can investors expect to see next from Western Copper and Gold?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a large project. We're in permitting. Really, the next stage is going to be building the mine, and to build the mine, we need significant capital. So not our sole focus, but one of our key focuses right now is on finding a partner. So we've done, a significant amount of outreach at the beginning of this year, some very positive feedback. We're going to continue that in the second half of this year, and, hopefully the first part of next year we'll have the partnership lined up to bring the mine into production.
Great.
All right.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you very much, Teresa.
I'm Teresa Matic with Investing News.